especially if it's up high. You don't want glass falling down on people as we work, especially you start ventilating through it, you break glass, we start ventilating, now we're going to have glass getting blown out because it's going to catch that positive pressure ventilation fan. Once we break glass, no putting it back. We don't have the smoke curtains, we don't have a way to do anything, we don't carry boards, so breaking glass should be a last ditch effort. So this is something that should be all review for us. This is how to identify an inward or outward swinging door or a door that can swing either way. That's what I always like to kind of remind everybody. Just because you don't see hinges doesn't mean it can't swing out. If you can see the hinges, it's going to swing towards you. So the other thing to remember is if you can see the hinges, you have another area to attack. So if I get in and this thing has a whole bunch of deadbolts on it and crazy stuff like that, hinges are another option, and they're pretty easy to bolt, especially with Halogens. If you cannot see the hinges, that can mean that the door swings away from you, or it could possibly have internal hinges that allow it to swing back and forth. The one firefighter method for an inward swinging door, he's going to go up. That's a ram bar. We don't carry those anymore. We also don't usually do stuff by ourselves, but you need to practice it, try to figure out how you can use a Halogen, how you can use a Halogen to drive it yourself. You know, you never know. Captain's doing a 360. You get sent up to check the door, get the hose up there, got to force it yourself. You're not going to have somebody else to help you with that. Maybe you get the driver, maybe you can't. All right, you got to force the door by yourself. Two firefighter method way of doing it is the traditional way. This is how we're going to practice it later. So, does anybody remember what our commands are for when we're forcing a door?
Gaps or shock, gaps, force.
So that's the process. But what do we tell the person that's strike, drive, stop? And we try to really kind of limit it to those, like don't give me a whack or something like that, because we want clear, concise. Everybody knows, so everybody always knows what everybody else is talking about. Outward swinging doors again. Talked about the good news is you see hinges, you have another way to get through. Maybe you cut those hinges, maybe you pull them with the Halogen. This is a deadbolt and a metal door that they weren't going to be able to force, and they're going to cut straight down through that and hope that there's not some sort of panic hardware on the other side that's also keeping it from going. So we've already talked about drop bars. We talked about it again though. Use your ram bar or Halogen to spread space. Insert a tool to lift the bar out. We have the J tool. It's pretty good for reaching in and doing that. It's thin. You use a saw to cut the exposed bolt heads on the outside, or as we talked about, you can drive them through with the Halogen. You take the pike, put the pike on it, smack them through. Or you can insert a rotary saw blade through an opening and cut. Try to give yourself a gap if you can. It keeps it from pinching the blade. The blade's really good at cutting, but if you can just either use like a wedge or get in the respectful entry kit and get one of the air bladders, gap that door a little bit, that'll make cutting that a lot easier. If you want to avoid breaking glass, you can use it through the lock method to open tempered plate glass doors. Once you guys learn how to do it, it's super easy. We're not going to teach it in this class, but there's other classes that teach it. It's pretty slick. So, let's just talk about what's the most common way we're going to force swinging doors. You said it earlier.
Strike, gap, set, force.
Yep. So if it's inward swinging, we may take it, give it a few hits to see if we can tell where the locks are we have to defeat. Then we're going to gap the door, we're going to set our tool, and then we're going to force the door. We don't normally, on a door that swings towards us, strike it because we're just hitting against the frame. Okay, that's really not doing any good. We can do that though on a metal door that we're going to try to force that may be hollow, because by striking it, we may open up this gap. Now again, we're doing damage, but that's one of those things that helps create that gap so you can get in, get your ads in there quicker and get into it. So through the lock method, size up the door, make sure it's one that you know how to do. Unscrew or remove the lock cylinder. The most common way to do that is either with a pair of pliers, and you grab a hold of it, and there's a little set screw, and you pop it loose, or you can drive a screwdriver into it. Then you use the key tool, which is located in our special entry kits, to open the locks. We have K tools. I was really excited about the K tools till we actually got them, and finding a lock you can actually use it on has been kind of hard, because most of them have something underneath it or above it that blocks you from using it. There's an R tool that actually pulls big deadbolts and those locks that we probably should have bought, but just know they're out there. We have them in our special entry kit. You hook them, you hook your Halligan to it to give you a little bit more of a striking surface and something to pry with. You knock it down, it separates it, you pull the lock out, and then you manipulate the innards. This is an A tool. We don't carry these. There are some guys that do have them though, just on their own in the department. They're for pulling more of the residential lock. You can't use the K tool on them because the K tool is not deep enough. So, and these are great. I've actually seen people pull these locks, and you don't actually even have to break the lock all the way off. If you can stretch it and bend it down enough that you can get in with a little dental tool kind of looking thing and flick the lock, sometimes you can put it back up. And while we've still kind of damaged the house, we've maybe made it secure, or at least them feel better if they're just going to the hospital or something. The J tool, we have these. They work pretty slick. Remember, sometimes though, you can't necessarily get these in. Sometimes they have the metal strip to keep you from getting in. What you can do is you can maybe try to gap it more, maybe cut that, do what you have to do. A shove knife. Shove knives take some practice, they take some skill, and they also take somebody putting the door in inappropriately, because if they actually have it set right, where the little keeper doesn't fall into the thing, they won't work. So you have to flex them in, flex them out, maybe use your bladder cuff to create more of a gap to let that security pin slide forward. But we have shove knives. We have a shove knife training door here at the station, so just practice with them. So, how should firefighters treat fire doors during forcible entry operations?
Try to keep them closed.
Try to keep them closed. And if it's a roll-up door, make sure that you keep, and you go through something from coming back down on your hose, okay? So, to summarize, we've talked about the basic principles of forcible entry, okay? What's the big one that we should all kind of remember? Try,
Before you
pry, and then do minimal amount of damage to maximum amount of damage. What are the two most common forcible entry tools we carry? Halligan and the Flathead X. What are some other ones though? Pry axe, yeah. The finger pincher. They work really well. You can kind of use them like a ram bar, but you can also take your fingers out. What are some considerations for forcible entry tool safety? Proper PPE, that's a big one. Proper PPE. When we go down to the training facility and force doors here in a little bit, we're going to wear proper PPE.
And good communication with who you're working with.
Good communication. Maybe keep our tools clean. If they're damaged, replace them, repair them. Okay, this is the one that I feel like everybody did learn something today. How are we supposed to carry a big head axe?
In your armpit.
In your armpit. Yeah.
And over that pipe.
Describe methods of forcing entry through doors. Gap set force. That's what we're going to do almost every time. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about what we've just done? No? Okay. Well, here's what we're going to do now. We are going to review the skill we're getting ready to go do down at the training center. So I'll pass these out to everybody so everybody can take a look at them. Everybody should have seen these before. This is the skill sheet for forcible entry of a door. And we'll review it, and then we'll review how we force a door. So, you must complete all of these. So you're going to wear all appropriate PPE, which for us will be bunker gear, helmet, ear protection, and either your face shield down or some safety glasses. You're going to choose the correct tools required to complete the task, and this is for in-between door, carry them to the prop door. You're going to correctly identify the type of door to be forced, and try before you pry. You're going to place the force of the prying tool just above or below the lock with the bevel side of the fork against the door. You're gonna give the command to strike the prying tool when ready. You're gonna reposition the prying tool as necessary between strikes. Make sure the fork end has penetrated between the door and the door jamb, at approximately 3/4 of the fork extended past the door. That's where we use our marks on our fork to tell. And then you're gonna pry it open by forcing it in. After that, we'll do an outward swinging door, and actually, I think the way we have our door set up, we're gonna do outward, and then we're gonna do inward. So, what do we use when we force an outward swinging door? Are we gonna use the forks? No, it's easier to use the adze. So, one thing that I do see people do is when they are forcing a door using the adze, so the adze actually comes off with a little bit of an angle, and so they'll hold the forks out. Well, that puts this at an angle, and it can actually cause us to start to skin the door before we want to. So until you hit the inside of the frame, keep your forks against it, let it hit, let it set, then you know you're deep enough that you're hopefully going to get around it, you're not going to skin the door, pull out just a hair, and it'll help you get around that. It's a mistake I see people make every once in a while. Does anybody have any questions about the expectations of the skill or how to force a door? No? Okay. So now, we're going to take a written test. You guys, I would say, have as long as you want to take this test realistically. If you guys can get done within 10 minutes, that would be great. I am going to monitor you. Does everybody have a writing utensil, or does anybody need one? Got one. Does anybody need one? Everybody's got one. Look at you, so prepared. Okay. Go ahead and put your name at the top of the test. When you guys are done, you guys can go ahead and exit the classroom and take a break. And then when they're done, I'll collect the tests. I'm going to go secure them in a locked facility according to our policy. And then we will get ready to go down to the training facility and practice our skills. I'm now going to grade the tests, and then I'm going to go put them in our secure room and lock them up. And then after we complete all the skills, I will then report the grades back to the students. All right, I'm now going to go file these and communicate their scores back to them, and then we will go to the training center.